Musashi no Bouken is the last RPG of 1990 for the Famicom. A year that was packed with some of the best RPGs that the system saw. I will say that Musashi no Bouken is the best RPG that Sigma Entertainment released. The other RPG that Sigma Entertainment released is the worst RPG on the Super Famicom. So it's a pretty low bar there. Up front, I need to point out that Musashi no Bouken doesn't have any connection with Musashi no Ken, the pretty bad action game that Taito released back in 1986. This one is about the son of Musashi Miyamoto. He was a real person who's often put forward as the greatest swordsman Japan ever produced, and his Book of Five Rings is basically the definitive manual for samurai. In Musashi no Ken, his son doesn't really know his father, instead living with his uncle and aunt, and then a demon shows up making everyone's lives miserable, so he goes off to fight it. Musashi no Bouken is a Dragon Quest clone. And I do mean Dragon Quest. Not Dragon Quest II, not Dragon Quest III, Dragon Quest. Musashi is the only character you'll ever employ, and you're going to spend a lot of time grinding up levels and money to buy additional equipment. Now that said, I've got some pretty significant concerns on the scaling of that equipment. At level 1, with the starting equipment, I do 3 to 5 damage per attack to the initial enemies, and it typically takes me 2 rounds to defeat them. At level 5, with the second tier of equipment, I do between 3 and 6 damage to those enemies, and it takes me generally 2 rounds to defeat them. It is so bad, I thought I was screwing up equipping items. But no, it's just that the power scaling is terrible. The interface is pretty standard for a Famicom RPG. Hit the B button to bring up a menu, and you can choose to talk, use your special abilities, do something with your items, or search the area. If you need to check out your status, you have to hit the start button. And while you're wandering around outside of towns, you'll get attacked by enemies. A lot. A lot. Like, it's not that uncommon to take one step and then get attacked again a lot. Once in combat, you can choose to attack, use an ability, use an item, or run away. I never successfully ran away. Musashi no Bouken is one of those games where really the only thing in it is the grind. Grind until you're strong enough to get to the next town, then grind until you have enough gash to buy the next tier of equipment, then move to the next location and repeat. Progression isn't the slowest that I've ever encountered in one of these RPGs, but it is really slow. Here's how far I made it in an hour. I got to the second town, and then managed to make it to a third town, from which there was a dungeon. The dungeon itself was very tiny, and it's where you meet one of your only companions in the game. Although, as a companion, he doesn't do a whole lot. I couldn't rescue the companion, though, because the monster with the key went elsewhere, so I followed them back to the previous town, and then followed the trail from there to the next town. And that's where I had to stop. This is really only the game's prologue, too. All of your special abilities are locked behind certain story advancements, and I never got a single one of those. There are 3 battery save slots for Musashi no Bouken, and you have to go and talk to a town elder in order to use that. You also get an item in that first dungeon that will let you recover all of your health at a shrine gate. The first 2 towns have inns where you can recover at, but those become less common later on in the game. In Japan, Musashi no Bouken doesn't really have a following. I found a few people who recorded that they had done a playthrough of it, but nobody was really coming away enthusiastic. And one of them commented, "This just reminded me why Dragon Quest is so good." And that's Musashi no Bouken. It's not bad, but it's basic. Yes, it is a very pretty game, and I happen to like the monster and map designs a lot. But it came out at the end of 1990. At this point, people are experimenting and trying to figure out what else they can do with RPGs. And Musashi no Bouken's answer to that is, let's just do Dragon Quest again. The super high encounter rate is a drag. Plus, from what I was reading, poison is very common once you're more than an hour or so into the game. And even the final ultimate weapon in the game is only 4% stronger than the previous weapon. There's just no balance to the progression. Musashi no Bouken is there, it works, it doesn't do things horribly wrong. but I don't see it as a game that anyone would get excited over.